How's it going, everybody? I'm meteorologist Joey Cargnes back with your daily forecast. We had quite the busy day yesterday. It went through a good chunk of the night as well. We have another risk for severe storms, this time out near Chicago in the Great Lakes region. They could see some severe weather, all hazards possible with the storms expected to fire off this afternoon and evening out there. And then the risk continuing into tomorrow and through Thursday for severe weather for a good chunk of the country. And then things are expected to die down as we get into the weekend and through a good chunk of next week. So we could be seeing a little bit of a lull in the severe weather activity after a very active past couple of weeks for us here. Let's take a look at what the storm reports looked like for yesterday. Let's start way up north out in South Dakota. A couple of reports of tornadoes out near Faith. Out there were actually twin tornadoes on the ground out there. They were on the weaker side, but they were still fairly photogenic and isolated out there. Some wind reports as well, moving a little bit farther south into Nebraska, or southern Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri. Mainly wind in Missouri as that system lined out and moved off to the east. And then we had some decent-sized hail in Kansas as well. I believe there was a 4-inch report out there in central Kansas later last night. And then zooming into Oklahoma, started off out in the northwestern counties of Oklahoma, started dropping some hail, and then that rotation really started to kick in later on in the evening. Had a couple of reports of tornadoes out there, as well as some baseball, I believe, was the largest sized hail that we found there. A decent system moved through the metro area, mainly wind out there. Not too many hail reports came out of that. But then what kind of stole the show last night was this long track isolated supercell that put down a fairly strong tornado that went through Hominy, Barnesville, Bartlesville, all seeing significant damage with that tornado. So a fairly strong tornado. Damage photos still coming in. No damage survey done yet, but based on the damage that we're seeing right now, it's looking around that EF3 to EF4 range for that tornado out there, and reports of the damage path being about 1.5 miles wide through Bartlesville. So pretty significant tornado out there later last night. And then out east, we had a mess of storms going on that were just dropping hail. The storms would pop up, just drop some quarters, sometimes golf balls. There was a 2-inch report out there as well, I believe, in more rural area of Tennessee. Some areas just to the east of Nashville got some hail as well as a couple of tornadoes out there and some wind reports on top of all that. So fairly active day yesterday. But this is what we have right now for our surface map. You see this nice low pressure system located on the border of the Dakotas. This nice occluded front, cold front extending all the way down south. The warm front firing off some of those storms right now are in the Great Lakes region. And then got some isolated storms popping up right now in the warm sector, and those storms will continue to fire off as we get into the middle portions of this afternoon. Forgot to change this from yesterday, so we'll just kind of zoom around here with this. Had some decent snow out in the Black Hills yesterday, and overnight have a report of 7 inches of snow. So not only in South Dakota can you see twin tornadoes, but on the same day you'll get 7 inches of snow out in the Black Hills. So some pretty wild weather out there. See that nice, strong cutoff low pressure system up in the upper levels for around the Dakotas. Nice trough extending farther to the south, kicking up those storms out in the Great Lakes region. Temperatures warming up for the southern plains right now in the mid-70s, mid and upper 80s for the DFW area. Warm for the southeast as well, and then some cooler temperatures building back in behind that low pressure system out in the Pacific Northwest. For today, the instability looks on the more mild side. It's not high end by any means. decent instability values down in far southeastern Texas, and then more moderate up towards the Great Lakes region where the highest severe risk is today. So it's a lower instability type day, but there is a decent amount of wind shears that'll get those storms cranking and those hailstones spinning around in those storms. So we could see some moderate-sized hail later on with these storms today as they get going. We'll look at the significant hail model here so you can see some decent values up in the Illinois, Indiana area, extending all the way farther south into Texas. They could see a few isolated storms, not a super high-end risk by any means down there, but there is still a small possibility that they see a few hailstones, a few damaging wind gusts possibly. Not looking very ideal for tornadoes down there though. And then going into Wednesday morning, this risk is going to shift farther out to the east in the Kentucky, Tennessee area. That's where the largest risk area is going to be for tomorrow. So here's our high resolution model here. See all these little isolated thunderstorms popping up around 1 p.m. On this model run at least. All of these little isolated storms could produce hail initially before they turn into this kind of conglomerated mess as we approach the early evening hours. But any of these smaller isolated cells could produce the larger hail for today, as well as possibly spin up a brief tornado going into the evening hours for today. This will kind of just line out a little bit, and that hail threat will diminish significantly, become more of a wind threat, maybe see a few little spin-ups along the front edge of that line overnight. But down in Texas here, see these isolated cells popping up pretty late in the evening, not firing really until 8 p.m., but that's just kind of a brief little storm that pops up, dissipates fairly quickly. So here's our hail map for today. Like I said, that bullseye kind of in the Great Lakes region where we're expecting the largest hail. Could see up to golf ball, maybe an isolated 2-inch stone for today, but Chicago, Indianapolis look to be the main cities with the highest chances to see that hail for today. Nashville, Columbus, also potentially seeing some hail today as well. You know, you could get Louisville in there, Evansville. Those areas could see some hail as well. And then for wind, expecting around that 60 to 70 mile an hour gust range, with again Chicago and Indianapolis being the same cities for that highest risk going into this afternoon with these storms. Tornado coverage, pretty much the same exact area as that hail and wind, but with Indianapolis being the most favorable conditions to see tornadoes later on this afternoon, but there is still a decent enough chance to see tornadoes all the way from far southwestern Missouri all the way up to Cleveland. They could see have a chance to see some tornadoes with some of the more isolated storms that do manage to get some rotation on them. So this is our jet stream for today. You see this nice little jet streak bullseye right over the Great Lakes region, right over Chicago, providing a little bit of upper level support for those storms. It's not as nice of a trough as it was yesterday. This thing is kind of turning more zonal, being stretched out, not really consolidating all of that energy into one spot like we like to see for a larger severe weather outbreak. And then after that, things kind of get messy and clear out quite a bit. So you can see by Friday here, this is when our severe chances are pretty much done for this week. We could still see a few isolated storms pop up, especially along the southeast in the Carolinas. Could see some storms pop up producing some hail right ahead of this leading trough there. But then after that, we just get this nice ridge building into the western U.S. that'll bring warmer temperatures, drier conditions over that period that is there. So this is our precipitation map here for that 6 to 10 day time frame, looking at May 12th through the 16th, expecting drier than average conditions for the Pacific Northwest. A small chance for above average chances of precipitation down south and along the east coast where that trough is still moving through. But really, for the most part, significantly drier than we've been for the past few days in a couple of weeks down in the south. And then looking at those temperatures, you can see that ridge really starting to get going and build in, bringing those above average temperatures to most of the western U.S. We could see below average temperatures for the southern U.S. and the Gulf states, but really we're looking at this weekend for things to kind of calm down, at least for the next week or so with severe weather. So that's all we got for today. If you're interested in learning more about us, go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Or if you're interested in purchasing a plan, go ahead and scan that QR code up above me. Or you can give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. Or you can check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Joey Cragness. Thanks for watching.